Good afternoon, everybody. It's nice to be here again presenting. I'm Nicole. I'm from the Behavioral Sciences Group at the University of Michigan Transportation Research Institute. And I'm here today to talk with you about in-vehicle technologies, assistive vehicle adaptations in older drivers, how older drivers use these, learn to use these, and how prevalent we find them in their vehicles. This is part of a larger study called the AAA Long Road Study, which is a large national multi-site, multidisciplinary longitudinal study on older drivers. So before I get started, I just want to acknowledge the AAA Foundation for Traffic Safety, that's the study sponsor, as well as all of the collaborators that helped with the data collection and data management for the study I'm talking about today, as well as for Long Road overall. So as we heard earlier, and this is just going to give some background about why we're doing this research and why it's important. The U.S. and the world's population are older now than they've ever been in history. Today, 8.5% of people worldwide are age 65 and over, and that's projected to reach 17% by the year 2050. In the U.S., the over 65 population is projected to reach 83.7 million people in 2050, which would be 21% of the population. And the majority of people, including older adults, prefer driving to other modes of transportation. Driving is associated with a sense of independence and a high quality of life. But as people age, they are more likely to have medical conditions and to take medications that may compromise safe driving abilities. Three general classes of abilities that we see decline are psychomotor or movement, perceptual or vision, and cognition or thinking. So because we're going to have so many older people and older drivers, the AAA Foundation for Traffic Safety funded the Long Road Study, which stands for Longitudinal Research on Aging Drivers. And we have a total of 2,998 total participants aged 65 to 79 that were enrolled at baseline. And I'm just going to be presenting results about on the baseline. We are approaching our third year of follow-up data collection right now. And what we collect is information on driving behaviors, health, and functioning through a questionnaire to our participants. We do a medication review in person of all the prescription medications and the supplements that they take. We do a driver history and crash record review, a medical record review. We install their vehicle with a small device in the diagnostic port to collect driving data. We do an in-person functional assessment where we measure things like their vision, cognition, balance, dexterity, and things like that. We also do a vehicle inspection on their primary vehicle, and we administer a vehicle technology questionnaire. And those are the two pieces of data collection I'll be focusing on today. So from all this data collection, the AAA Long Road Study is trying to answer 5 research questions. What are the risks and protective factors in older driver safety? What are the effects of medications on driving behavior? What are the effects of declining physical functioning on self-regulation of driving? What is the extent, use, and effect of new vehicle technology and aftermarket vehicle adaptations, which is what I'll be focusing on today? And also, what are the determinants of driving cessation and how does driving cessation impact quality of life? We're collecting data at 5 sites across the USA: San Diego, Denver, Ann Arbor, Cooperstown, and Baltimore. And at baseline, we enrolled nearly 600 participants at each site. So the vehicle technology questionnaire that we administer to our participants is administered at baseline or when the participant changes their primary vehicle. And the technology questionnaire examines the use and attitudes towards 15 different vehicle technologies and 12 aftermarket vehicle adaptations that participants may have in their vehicle, that they may have made to their vehicle themselves or had a professional make to their vehicle. We also do a hands-on vehicle inspection that's conducted at baseline and every 2 years on our participant's primary vehicle. It's a quick inspection where we just measure things like the tire pressure, the tread depth, the light functionality. We do an assessment of any damage that's on the vehicle: dents, scratches, cracks in the windshield, rust. We also do a visual check of any in-vehicle technologies, and the presence of any aftermarket vehicle adaptations. So before I get into the results of the questionnaire and the inspection, I just want to give you a sense of who our participants are. As I mentioned before, we have nearly 3,000 participants enrolled at baseline. We broke them into 3 age groups: 65 to 69, that's 42% of our participants; 70 to 75 is 35%, and 75 to 79, 24%. 53% were women, 47 men. 88% of our participants were white and non-Hispanic. 7% were Black or African American, and 3% Asian. Regarding education, 11% had a high school degree or less, 18% some college, 30% had an associate's or bachelor's degree, and 41% had an advanced college degree. And for household income, less than 20,000 was reported by 5%, 21% 20 to 50, 50 to 80, 24%, 80 to 100, 14%, and 32% of our participants made 100,000 or more per year. Okay, so just to give you some results from our vehicle technology questionnaire, overall, 57% of our participants had at least one advanced technology in their primary vehicle. Males tended to have higher numbers of technology in their vehicles, as did people with higher incomes and education levels. And age group was not significantly correlated with the number of technologies that we found. This graph shows the prevalence of in-vehicle technologies as reported by our participants. The top 3, integrated Bluetooth cell phone system, was reported by nearly 50% of participants. A backup parking assist system was reported by 40.1%. Navigation assistance, nearly 30%. On the other end, night vision enhancement, only reported by 0.1%. A semi-autonomous parking assist, 1.1%, and fatigue drowsy driver alert, 1.3%. And just if you're curious how the inspection that we did matched up with the self-reported results, for the technologies that we asked about in the questionnaire and also inspected for, from this graph you can see that it's generally good agreement. There are some discrepancies. It may be because participants report that they don't have a technology, but they actually do, or they report that they have a technology, but we couldn't see it on the inspection side. And if a participant reported they had a technology in their vehicle, we asked a follow-up question on how they primarily learned to use the technology. And nearly 50% of our participants reported that they just figured it out for themselves. 20% reported that the dealer was their primary way of learning, and 13.2% said they never learned how to use the technology. And as you can see, only 0.1% reported that they would use the internet to learn how to use the advanced technology in their vehicle. We also asked how often they use the technology, if they did have a technology in their vehicle. 43.3% reported always, 7.5% often, 10.4% sometimes, 12.1% rarely, and nearly 25% reported they never used it. We also asked a follow-up question if they had a technology: does the technology make you a safer driver? And this graph indicates the percentage of participants that said yes per technology. So on navigation assistance, 96.6% said yes, that does make them a safer driver, 95% on blind spot warning, 87% lane departure warning, nearly 87% on forward collision warning, and nearly 85% on backup or parking assist. On the other end of the spectrum, only 25% reported that semi-autonomous parking assist made them a safer driver, 43.0% reported that voice control systems make them a safer driver. Regarding the assistive vehicle adaptations that we asked about in the questionnaire, overall, 8.96% had at least one adaptation present in their vehicle. Sex, age, education, and household income had no effect on the number of adaptations that we saw. And of those with at least one, the most prevalent adaptations were driver's seat cushions. There's a picture there from an actual participant's vehicle. Convex or multifaceted mirrors were next, safety belt extensions, upper body support, and aftermarket push button ignition or some sort of steering wheel modification. And if you're curious about the inspection versus the self-reported on adaptations, they were generally close as well. There are some discrepancies, for example, seatbelt cushion. We actually did not ask about that in the questionnaire, that's why it's 0. But again, these numbers might be different because participants might not consider something a modification that we would consider a modification when we're inspecting. But overall, they're close. So some key findings or takeaways that I'd like to leave you with. The questionnaire and the inspection prevalence data were generally in good agreement. Technologies were used frequently and generally thought to make people safer drivers. Respondents did not work with professionals to determine the appropriateness of adaptations or how to install or make them. So we need to continue to develop materials and programs that further promote awareness of the types of vehicle modifications and vehicle technologies that are available. Now, if you'd like further information, a lot more detail than I could go into here, there's a couple of research briefs at the AAAfoundation.org, Use, Learning, and Perceptions of In-Vehicle Technologies and Vehicle Adaptations, and Observe Maintenance, Damage, Technologies, and Adaptations Among Vehicles and Older Drivers. We also recently had a journal article published in Accident Analysis and Prevention called Prevalence, Attitudes, and Knowledge of In-Vehicle Technologies and Vehicle Adaptations Among Older Drivers, if you're interested. And that's it. Thank you.